let's talk about how to create a unit plan for your students centered around a story, either one that you found or one that you wrote just for your students. It's Ashley, aka Senior to Spanish, where I provide easy-to-use resources to save you time and energy while you're lesson planning, hopefully to reduce your stress and reduce your workload. If you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button, and just so you know, links to everything that I mentioned in this video will be down in the description box below. We're going to talk about why you should use stories in your classes, some possibilities for ways to include them, and then we're really going to dig into how you can design an entire unit with the story as kind of the star or the centerpiece. So first off, why use stories in your classes? Stories are a great way to give your students lots and lots of comprehensible input in a way that's really engaging, compelling, and comprehensible, kind of the key word, for them. The language is accessible and the plot keeps things interesting. You can also use them to fit in with different units that you already teach. Let's talk about a few possibilities for ways you can use stories in your classes. One, you can print them and just throw them in your classroom library. That's really easy for FVR or free voluntary reading or any sort of silent sustained reading time you offer in your classes. Two, they're a great option for subplans because you can basically just print them, turn it into a packet, and go. I do have a video where I talk about my emergency subplan packet and what I like to do with stories, so I'll make sure to link that for you here on the screen in case you want to check that out. Three, it's a great option to kind of fill in a unit. Maybe you are in the middle of a unit and your students just need more input with whatever it is you're working on. Adding a story to your unit is a good way to kind of fill that out. And four, you can build your entire unit with a story that you either found or wrote as the entire centerpiece. So everything leads up to it and everything comes from it. Quick question for you. How do you use stories in your classroom? Comment below and let me know. Okay, so we're gonna talk about basing a unit on a story. That's the whole focus of this video. But I just want to mention something first. There is a lot of things you can do with this. Basically, every single step that I'm going to mention could be done in a different way, so I'm just going to give you some ideas. This could be a great jumping off point or starting point for you, but I have some more ideas to share with you at the end as well. Okay, so let's talk about the beginning of the unit. I like to call this phase kind of a pre-reading section or a pre-reading kind of component of the unit. This is just in case your students might need kind of a warm-up phase with the vocabulary. Maybe you want to introduce them to some words, phrases, or structures that they haven't encountered before you hand them a reading, just to make that reading even more accessible to them. So some options for activities you could do for pre-reading include PQA, which is personalized question and answer, Four Corners, This or That, Parallel Story, that's from Senior Wooly, a student survey, picture talk or movie talk, a gallery walk, and Bunch of Hunches, which is also from Senior Wooly. I do have a couple of videos where I dig into those strategies a little further, and I will again make sure to link to them in the description box below in case you want to hear more about those. Okay, after you've done some pre-reading activities, the next phase of the unit would be to tell the story. No matter how you do it, at some point in time, your students need to get the actual reading. You might even do this step in a few different ways. So let's talk about some options. You could do storytelling. You could do story asking, which is where they kind of fill in the blanks and you kind of have a structure for them, but you give them a few options and choices as you go. You could just read the story together. You could draw it as you tell it, whether you are doing the drawing on a whiteboard to kind of make sure you slow down and you're giving them that visual support, or you could have them draw as you tell it, which is a very relaxing option for some of them. Option 5 would be to do a close reading activity with the story. And again, there's probably more options, but I just wanted to give you a few ideas for the telling the story phase of this unit plan. Okay, the next phase of the unit plan is what I like to call extend and lean in. And basically what this is you already have a good piece of material. There's no need to race through it. There's no need to rush. This is the part of the unit where we're gonna really get that repetition in. The focus here is really on stretching and giving them more opportunities to experience and kind of play with the language that comes from this story that we're working with. So when we're looking at some ideas for activities you could do during this portion of the unit plan, the possibilities are basically endless. Basically every reading activity ever could go into this segment, and I have tons of ideas. I have a whole playlist on reading activities that I've linked for you up here on the screen. Check out my spreadsheet of about 100 ideas here. That would be a really good place to just go digging if you're looking for some inspiration, you want to change things up, you want something new, and of course I will link it for you down in the description box below. If you want a solid jumping off point for these, if you're like 100 options is way too many, I got you. I would recommend this YouTube YouTube video on my channel with 30 activities, not 100, just 30, and I go through them pretty quickly so you can get a few ideas right away that would fit in really well to this segment of your unit plan. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about assessing your students because that's kind of how we're gonna wrap up this whole unit plan we've been talking about. And let's be honest, you've done this all along. You've done this the whole way through. You did this as a pre-reading, you did this while reading, even if it was just informally, and you definitely did it during the extend and lean in portion while you were reusing the reading over and over again. Some options for assessing your students are a timed write, a blind retell, true and false, a translation activity, listen and draw, a summarization activity, or even having them put their own twist on the story. How long do you do this? Generally speaking, I would do this for 5 to 10 class days, roughly 1 to 2 weeks of class time in 45 to 50 minute class periods. The extend and lean in segment is generally 3 to 4 days of class. That's where we spend the most time. If you have any questions about this or want to hear more about any of these steps, make sure to just drop me a comment below so I can help you out. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and ring that bell so you get notified of all new content that I create for you in the future. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.